Because I just think that people overcomplicate these things, right?
But like, I'm not going to buy it. It's like, well, that's important for us to know, right? What do we need to do to make it to where you'll buy it?
Like email and text messaging, like you're communicating directly to like your existing customer base.
Wix e-commerce is the professional platform that enables entrepreneurs all over the world to create and run their online stores and grow their e-commerce businesses. One of those entrepreneurs is Angel Gregorio, who runs thespicesweet.com, a $2 million multi-channel business on Wix. When the pandemic forced so many brick-and-mortar businesses to close their doors, Angel knew she had to pivot to online to keep selling her spices and keep up with the demand from her loyal customers. In fact, in just a few months, she sold over $900,000 worth of spices through her online store, and her last batch sold out in 2.5 minutes. Angel uses social channels to drive special sales and email marketing to update her customers about new inventory and upcoming events. She also uses in-depth analytics to gain business insights and monitor everything in her sales funnel: store management, marketing automations, and detailed payment reports, all from one dashboard. So if you want to succeed in 2021 and grow your online business like Angel did, head over to wix.com/e-commerce today. Ever wonder how the e-commerce brands you admire do it? How they just know the right message to send to the right people at the right time? Guess what? It's not experience. They have the right data and the right tools. They have Clavio. Clavio's data-driven marketing automation platform is sophisticated enough to power those legendary campaigns from the brands you admire, but they made it simple, easy, and fast enough for anyone to use. Clavio helps brands easily create personalized, multi-channel marketing campaigns using the most powerful asset: your customers' data. Clavio integrates with all leading e-commerce platforms, helping you use your customer data in real time to send more relevant email and SMS automations. Plus, building a marketing campaign is drag and drop easy. You can get started with your first campaign in under an hour and easily build from there with Clavio's best performing templates. Clavio gives you all the power of an enterprise marketing automation platform and none of the complexity, so you can compete with the big guys. No wonder more than 65,000 brands can't get enough. To get started with your free trial of Clavio, visit clavio.com/uncensored. That's KLAVIYO.com/uncensored.
You're listening to E-Commerce Uncensored with Kevin Manal and Jason Caruso.
Hey everyone, and thank you for joining us on another episode of E-Commerce Uncensored. My name is Kevin Manal, and I'm here with
Jason Caruso.
Am I sounding okay over there, buddy?
Not bad.
Today's episode, we're joined with Logan and Teddy from Kanga Coolers. They have a really cool startup kind of story behind them from when they were in college, and they drank a lot of beer and they developed this cool cooler product.
Yeah, they it was interesting because we're trying to compress some of these interviews, and these guys were really to the point. They answered the questions exactly as we asked them. So it was definitely an enjoyable interview.
Yeah, we definitely could have stayed on with them for much longer, going deeper and diver, but we've noticed that maybe you guys like a little more condensed, more value-based podcasts the more we do these like really long ones. So we're trying to like make them more precise, less BS from
Right.
Jason on a regular basis, right, Jay?
Right.
All
Without
right.
further ado,
Yeah. Enjoy this interview with Teddy and Logan from Kanga Coolers. Hey, Teddy and Logan, thank you so much for joining us today. How you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having us. We're excited.
Cool. Why don't you just start by telling us exactly what Kanga is and how you guys got started?
before you do, you see how excited my buddy Kevin gets over there? You guys are like, yeah, we're excited. He's like, all right, cool.
Shut up.
We'll have to bring it back. We'll bring
Hype it up for me. Go
Hype
ahead.
it up a little bit. Yeah, this guy, because he like his heart beats once a month.
As soon as I just cover my eyes from that glare off his forehead, we'll be all right.
Right.
Kev Dog's just taking it easy after the long weekend.
Chilling, man.
Still recuperating, but
it's a struggle. Got to push through there, right?
Right. So why don't you guys tell us a little bit about your product, how you guys got started, and then we'll kind of roll from there.
Absolutely. We started as a class project at Clemson University about 4 If we're going on 4.5
I think
years
we're going
ago,
on to 4 years. Yeah.
that's insane. That's absolutely crazy. Yeah, 4.5 years ago, we had a class project where we had to create a solution to a problem that we faced. It was an entrepreneurship class, and we'd all just turned 21 at the time. So naturally, our biggest problem we faced was drinking warm beer. And so
Right.
we realized that, we all had Yeti coolers. We all had really expensive $300 coolers that, we dropped a pretty penny on, but we very rarely used them. I remember thinking at a tailgate where we were drinking warm beer and we had these big coolers back at our apartment, but we didn't bring them because we didn't want to have to load them up and haul them all the way a mile to our tailgate spot. So we just went by the convenience store on the way and grabbed a cold case of beer from the fridge and drank it as it got warm. And that was kind of a solution that we saw wasn't being brought, where you're having to sacrifice between cold drinks and bringing the big thing, or the convenience of not having cold drinks or anything to deal with. But it's really easy to get out there and have a cold beer. So we realized, why don't we just keep it cold if it's already cold, and create the idea for the case mate, which is essentially a koozie for a case of beer.
Is there ice? There's no ice, right?
No ice. You just grab a cold case and slide it in, zip it up, and it stays cold for up to 7 hours without ice. So it's that perfect convenience cooler. You're going to play around in golf. You're going to the pool for a little while, to the beach. It's super easy, just casual, slide it in, enjoy, and don't have to worry about the fuss.
That's all you gotta say to me is golf.
See how his
golf.
face lit up when you said golf? Although he doesn't have he won't have a beer on the golf course.
No,
I
will
do.
not.
This game is serious to me. I'm not going to drink while I play.
So we actually have a golf simulator in our office that we are not at.
way.
Yeah, we're not at it right now, but we'll be there tomorrow. And so you say all you have to say is golf to me, and then I'm in.
I can get him to have a couple drinks after he bogeys a couple holes, though. I can do it.
I've got the golf bug. I picked it up this year, and first time ever where I used to be to go out okay guys, we're gonna bring a case, we're all chilling, no one's keeping track of score, and the worst thing that could possibly happen, I think, or it's the best depending on how you look at it, is you shoot a good round for the first time in your life.
Yeah.
And then after that, you can never
Serious.
golf that way ever again.
Yeah, and that's what I try to I'm like, well, the point of golf is to shoot the lowest possible score, not to see how many beers you can drink so that you can't hit the ball anymore.
It depends on how you look at it, man.
No, I'm a competitor.
On that one.
I'm a competitor. I played college hockey. I've been playing hockey since I was 3 years old. I'm a competitor. I'm out there to win, not out there to watch the birds fly around. I want to win. So
I tend to get better though the more I drink as we go. So that happens.
See, that's the other thing is I found that if I start off hot and then I start drinking, it's downhill. But if I start off just sloppy and I start drinking, it's usually uphill. So it's that happy medium.
You find that sweet spot.
Exactly.
yeah, and I'm a low handicapper. I'm probably like a 3 or 2.
That's not me.
Depending. So
Not most people.
yeah. So and I used to be a
Horrible.
PGA. I used to be a PGA professional, so I take it kind of seriously. So
Oh,
and
wow.
I play for a lot of money too. I can have $200-$300 on a round of golf. I mean, I don't want to lose that because I want to drink a beer.
Well, I
Dude,
found
I'm
someone who I'm gonna
if-
try to get lessons from now.
Right. Come to
I'm
the
gonna have to
simulator,
reach
man.
out.
If
Come to
I
the
birdie
simulator.
a hole, I'm just fired up.
Yeah.
Nothing can ruin my round after that.
Right. So how speaking of golf, how practical is this for golf? Because golf is obviously supposed to be 4.5 hours. But depending if you're playing with Kevin, it's a lot longer. But is it I guess my question is a Yeti works. I know a Yeti works. I have 5 of them. I know I stick my whatever it is, coffee or whatever in it, and it works. Does your product, I know you're not going to say no, but is it something that really keeps it cold for that long, man? Because to me, I don't know where you guys been my whole life. I haven't seen your guys' product until recently.
Totally. Well, here's a killer comparison actually. So last weekend I went and played 18 with one of my buddies who had one of the Yeti hoppers or whatever, kind of the smaller Yetis. Our cooler fits perfectly in the back of the cart. So you can fit a 24 pack, 30 rack, 12 pack, whatever you want. I brought out a 12 pack. He had about 10 beers in his Yeti hopper because that was all he could fit in the hopper with a little bit of ice on it or whatever. But by the time we got back to, the 18th hole, he reached in, grabbed one of my beers, was like, holy shit, it's still cold.
Wow.
I can't believe that's still cold. And I think the big comparison from there is I could have brought 24, I could have brought 30. Regardless, it still would have been cold. And also I was able to pack more beers onto the course than he was.
Yeah, it's not going to keep it cold for 3 weeks, but if it takes you that long to finish your beer, you might need to do
I
some
think
soul
that
searching.
I think the beer is gonna go bad by that time anyway, right? It's gonna get
There is
skunked.
an expiration date on beer.
Right. So what do you guys, I just want to know, because a lot of our audience, they're like always like interested in like the details of like how did you, once you first got the idea, like what did you do next? Because I think that's where like a lot of people get stuck. Like I got like probably like 300-400 ideas in my head that
Right.
they just stay right here. They don't really go anywhere. So how do you
He's
go?
got a whiteboard there too with a bunch of ideas on it. That, you know.
Yeah. I keep erasing it. It's just never happens. But so what did you guys do? Like you had this idea. What do you do next?
Yeah, it kind of feels like when you have an idea, and I remember this feeling distinctly, it feels like there's just an invisible barrier between you and like actually getting this thing made. You've never done it before. For me, I didn't know anybody that had done it before. So it just, my question was, how do you make products? How do you do this to take it from here to here? Like, it seems like such an impossible transition. So I completely understand why someone would feel that way, because that's exactly how I felt. But really, you just got to think it through and be like, okay, well, what were we trying to make? We were trying to make a koozie for a case of beer. Question 1, what are koozies made out of? Googled that. Google's a great resource. Found out they're made of scuba foam. Cool, let's order. And it's the materials are a lot better now, but at that time we had scuba foam. Okay, where can I get scuba foam? Ordered a 30-foot roll from somewhere in Alabama, paid way too much for it and had it shipped to us. I was like, cool, now I got that. I'm sitting there with a 30-foot roll of scuba foam. Then I've got to get it to go around a case of beer. Well, I'll need a sewing machine. And I started to try to do it myself, but I learned really quickly that's not going to be how we build this thing. That's not a strong suit of mine. So I decided, okay, well, who has a sewing machine that could work with this? Well, dress alteration shops have sewing machines, and they have a very seasonal business. We just so happen to catch them between prom seasons and wedding season and all that stuff. So we were like, okay, well, they've got extra time. Let's reach out to some and see if they can do this project for us. So we called them up, told them we're from a local university, and went there. And we found one in Clemson who essentially, we brought the case of beer, we brought the roll of scuba foam, and I'd done some engineering my first year of college before I transitioned, is a nice way to say it, to business. And I did a 3D model of what we wanted. And I brought that all to her and said, to Mary, are you able to help us out? And she said, absolutely, on one condition. You got to buy a case of beer for me and leave it here with me. So she helped us out. She got us started. But the moral of the story is it seems a lot more complicated sometimes in your head than it actually is in reality. And sometimes you just need to break it down to say, okay, step 1, what do I need for this? Or what is this made out of? Now, our product is a little more simple to execute from that standpoint, or it was at the time. But usually it comes down to thinking that through, looking at your current resources around you. And if you need to go a little more complex, if your idea is an app, or if it's a more technical type of product, there are different resources out there you can find. Get in touch with friends and family that may have done this before. Tap into a network online or reach out. There's tons of different companies on Google that do this type of thing. And if you had any questions for us, you can reach out to Kanga as well. And I'm glad to point you in the right direction.
Appreciate that, man. One thing that's what I think is interesting, like in our space, right? Is that the first thing people want to do is go to Alibaba, right? Like, oh, China, I got to go to China. Like, where really the people that we get on this podcast who are the most successful seem to do it the opposite. Like, they make it here, they pay all the money here, they pay for the extra expense to have it done here. It gets quicker, it gets done quicker, it gets done better. They can get a prototype quicker because they're not waiting 30 days for it to get, put on a boat somewhere or something. And then later on, if you want to, if your idea is not like a made in America thing and you want to outsource it to China, fine. But I think a lot of people make the mistake of like, they have an idea and the first thing to do is go to China. Now they got to wait 30 days for everything. Yeah. Okay. Then maybe they save $10 or whatever the hell they save on it. But in the end, it's really going to cost you more money. And I like what you did. You're like, no, like, I'm not worried about this big production right now. I got to just figure out how I get this thing just made like now.
Right.
Which is, I think, is a really, really important lesson, because I just think that people overcomplicate these things, right? Like, I got to learn how to deal with China. I got to learn how to deal So I thought I like what you did. I like that you, like you said, you break it down. I haven't heard anybody say that before. And I think that's really, really a smart way to do it.
Well, I think kind of to build off that point, I guess to sum it up is if you have like a crew of people you're working on something with, and you have like a puzzle on your desk, and if you pour out all the pieces and you say like, hey, can you put it together, versus if you build like, the outside barrier and then you say, hey, can you fill it in? It's a whole lot easier for them to fill it in from the already having the outside barrier completed.
What did you guys do with this this first prototype? I mean, you were going to one of the top football schools in the country, right? I mean, your tailgates must have been insane.
We got to do the hardest part of the job. We had to product test a little bit. So had to go out, had to use it, had to make sure it was work. And honestly, we found like our first prototype, it had a big gaping hole in the top because we were thinking, okay, conceptually, this is a koozie for the case. So naturally, you're going to use the case's handle. Like it's a supporting thing, not the whole thing, right? And so we were thinking, well, it's going to keep it cold for a couple extra hours, so be it. But we realized
like a style thing. Like I think we were looking at it more as like a t-shirt, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe that was what you were looking at it as.
Yeah.
I was too drunk to think about it that far ahead. But anyways, we had an open hole in the top, and so we realized, okay, well, let's cover the hole in the top. So we go, put a flap on it. We were tinkering with it, right? So we were working with our local, the seamstress for the first prototype. We found a local manufacturer that could help us tweak the formula, because to your point on what you were saying a second ago, with a lot of people going to China first and trying to outsource it, the challenge of that is all of a sudden you are trying to learn how to play that international game, and your eye is on that ball instead of on the ball of, making sure this is the right product market fit. You got to kind of have a tinkerer's mind when it comes to building these things, where you just kind of Frankenstein it a little bit. It's going to look ugly and it's going to be kind of weird and quirky, but let's add this to it. Let's add this to it. Let's add a top flap. Cool. Does that work? No, because I have to now open the top flap to get to the handle to then carry it everywhere. So it's open. Cool. Let's add a handle on top. Let's make it thicker. Let's test this material, that material. And the entire time while we're going back and forth with our customers, we're product testing pretty heavily. And we're going through that product market fit piece, trying to sell these things, doing a test market, selling them for $30, where people are buying into it. They're not getting them given to them. If you give someone one of these things, they're going to like it and be nice to you because you did something for them.
Right. You need their credit card.
And if they buy it and it doesn't work, and the skepticism is real. Like originally our product did not work like we wanted to. We figured some things out since then. We scienced it up a little bit, but at the beginning, it didn't work that well. And for someone to give us $30 and then, give us their true feedback on their experience with it, that was a lot more important to find out then than when we were making thousands of these things overseas, right? So it's really important to, like you're saying, build it, here local, do it small before you get to that piece, so that once you get that formula locked in, then you can go worry about the international game if you want to go that route, the manufacturing game. But make sure you keep your eye on the product market fit first.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing is, I think people miss when they go to China is like, you're all excited to get this thing done, and now you got to wait 30 days for the stupid thing to get here. Like, like, oh man, all right, let's wait for the boat to like come, and then like maybe it get caught up in customs, and like it comes, and then like it's broken, and you got to call China up and say like, hey, like, and like, oh shit, okay, another 30 days. It's like, like, and I think it's like it's almost like a self-inflicted procrastination, I don't know, whatever, because like, it's like you find comfort in that procrastination, but at the end of the day, you just have to sell the friggin' thing. And the way that you sell it is getting it done as quickly as possible. And I think a lot of people miss that, man. And I really like what you guys did, because you're like, fuck this, I'm not waiting, I'm doing this now. Which I think is an important piece.
Yeah, and the fact that you sold it before it was perfect, because that's another thing that holds people back. They feel like the whole product needs to be the end product before I sell it to everybody. And the fact that you were selling it to I assume you were selling it to people in college and things like that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure like when you're at a party and you're talking about this and you're like, oh, cool, I'll have that. But when you actually have someone exchange money for something, it's like kind of like a different mindset for them.
Oh, it's such a hard thing to do. Because we thought, like, everybody always told us that this is the greatest idea ever. This is amazing. And as soon as it was time to put some money up on it, all of a sudden crickets. People were quiet. Everybody that was in our corner were like, yeah, but like, I'm not going to buy it. It's like, well, that's important for us to know, right? What do we need to do to make it to where you'll buy it? So
yeah, exactly.
It takes the ego check early on, though. It really crushes your soul a little bit to get the first feedback, but you need it.
Well, and that's why, like, I don't know how much you know about Kevin and I, but we own several businesses. We have a digital marketing agency. We own like a wildlife photography business that did like multi-millions like year one, and then we have this podcast, and like we always talk to our partners and like, and it's just like they all fall in love with their product. And I'm like, look, I don't really care how much you like it. I don't really care what you think about it. Like, will people take out their effing credit card and give it to you in exchange for that product? Because if they don't, you could take your product and shove it up your rear end and it's useless to us, And I think, we had this client who like made these like backyard brick ovens. Before he even made them, he had 1,000 of them sold, and then he made them and then nobody bought from him. It's like,
Oh my goodness.
That's hilarious. I mean, I think it's interesting, like when you're like developing a product and stuff like that, and you're on the other end, like the side that's actually like making it. Like I know, especially Logan, who heads up our product development, when you have a product in the market and you know that like you made some tweaks or innovations to it that's going to make it that much better, and you're waiting on that new batch to come in, your head's always looking at the newest and the latest and greatest product, and you forget about what's actually in the marketplace. And I think counterintuitively, like people that did purchase our coolers like up front and like had like the oldest fresh product that at the time was like the hottest thing, when they saw these improvements and new features that we added and how we've developed the products, they've actually continued to buy our products, and they're always blown away at the innovations that we're making to it. And I think like getting that initial buy-in from the get-go is so important, because people that actually get or have used the original product and are using the latest and greatest are always just, if you did it right, are that much more like loyal to the brand as a whole.
so what did you guys do from there? Like I'm just thinking, like if this were me, I'd be building an email list. I'd be like trying to find people who actually are into the things that this product is going to solve, right? So like, I don't know, maybe fishermen and golfers and like, college kids. Like, what was your first step? Because I know like from Kevin and I, right, like we have this multi-million-dollar wildlife photography magazine, and like 40 or 50% of that comes from email. So how did you start like from there? Did you guys build an email list? Did you, in hindsight, wish you did? What exactly was your strategy from there? Because I'm really interested to hear where you went from.
Yeah, absolutely. From hindsight, we would have done a lot of things differently. But at that point in time, so we have the prototype. We were doing the test marketing and things like that. Minimum viable product, tweaking the formula, things like that. So for that test market, we were in college, very fortunate to have a network right around us of our target customers. So we just tapped into that network, whether it's fraternity, whether it's organizations or friends or whatever have you, classmates. So we just reached out and we got people to sign up on a list, and we sent out surveys. I think we used maybe Survey Monkey or something where we just sent out some surveys and got some feedback. And, we sold it. I want to say it was through, maybe you Shopify at the time.
Squarespace we used
originally was Square. I can't remember if we processed anything, but yeah, I think we may have used Squarespace. But we ran that through for early customers, got the feedback. But for our actual launch, we decided to go Kickstarter, which was an interesting decision at the time. Some good, some bad, but overall, it's how we got going.
It's how we got the funding. I mean, we were like broke college kids trying to figure out how we were gonna get the money to even like place the initial production run. And I think that was eye-opening too, to see like the quantity and like cost that you had to have up front to really start a product. And I think the beautiful part about us being broke college kids was we really had to just entrepreneur our way around everything. I think beginning, like our social media presence was rather large and from the get-go when we started the product. So people started to buy into like the lifestyle content we were making and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of the sales we were doing from, I think like probably like the first year and a half was really like driven by PR and like the way we were able to position the product online. But as we've like grown and started to, take action on formulating an email list, doing like more targeted segments and seeing like how beneficial and profitable that marketing channel is, like we've been able to double down on so many areas we were overlooking because we didn't have the proper knowledge to think about it right from the get-go.
This message comes from our sponsor, Wix e-commerce, the professional platform that enables entrepreneurs all over the world to create and run their online stores and grow their e-commerce businesses. One of those entrepreneurs is Angel Gregorio, who runs thespicesuite.com, a $2 million multi-channel business on Wix. When the pandemic forced so many brick and mortar businesses to close their doors, Angel knew that she had to pivot to online to keep selling her spices and keep up with the demand from her loyal customers. In fact, in just 2 months, she sold over $900,000 worth of spices through her online store, and her last batch sold out in 2.5 minutes. Angel uses her social channels to drive special sales and email marketing to update her customers about new inventory and upcoming events. She also uses in-depth analytics to gain business insights and monitors everything in her sales funnel, store management, marketing automation, and detailed payment reports, all from one dashboard. So if you want to succeed in 2021 and grow your online business like Angel did, head over to wix.com/e-commerce today.
Ever wonder how the e-commerce brands you admire do it? How they just know the right message to send to the right people at the right time? Guess what? It's not experience. They have the right data and the right tools. They have Clavio. Clavio's data-driven marketing automation platform is sophisticated enough to power those legendary campaigns from the brands you admire, but they made it simple, easy, and fast enough for anyone to use. Clavio helps brands easily create personalized, multi-channel marketing campaigns using the most powerful asset, your customers' data. Clavio integrates with all leading e-commerce platforms, helping you use your customer data in real time to send more relevant email and SMS automations. Plus, building a marketing campaign is drag and drop easy. You can get started with your first campaign in under an hour and easily build from there with Clavio's best performing templates. Clavio gives you all the power of an enterprise marketing automation platform and none of the complexity, so you can compete with the big guys. No wonder more than 65,000 brands can't get enough. To get started with your free trial of Clavio, visit clavio.com/uncensored. That's KLAVIYO.com/uncensored.
It's amazing to me how many businesses and I'm not saying you guys did, but how many businesses overlook email? You know, you pay for the customer one time and then you can sell to them over and over. So like yesterday for 4th of July, you know, we're kind of like in all different, we have like pulled in a lot of different directions, and we often like our schedules, our calendars end up developing really late. Like for example, our 4th of July offer didn't come to fruition until like Friday. So, but you know, it just amazes me that we can send out like 3 or 4 emails in like 3 days and make like $8,000-9,000, you know, and like it's a digital product, so it's all profit. And it's just like, to think what people have to do for $8,000 or $9,000, like in the real world, is like, it's like crazy to me, right? Like we've sent out an email and we've done like 40,000 in one day. Like that was like our record.
Mhm.
It's just crazy. Like how many people overlook that even now, because they think, oh, email's going away, but it's not.
It's still here.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
a vital part of our strategy. How is have you tried SMS at all? Like, has that been something you've incorporated?
So SMS is really good it's good in some businesses, and other business we don't see it working as well. You know, it's not good for like an email drip, like where you're sending emails every single day.
Yeah.
It's not good for that, but it's definitely good for like that one-off offer, like, you know, or following up with people, asking if they're still interested in things. For our digital, and it also depends on your audience, like our digital product, our wildlife photography magazine is like 45 and up. So it's they're not as tolerant of.
Yeah, we like to send a lot of emails. So
Yeah.
we have this conversation with our clients and all that, and they always ask us, should we go SMS? We're like, yeah, we can. It's just like we want to send emails every day. We're not going to be able to send SMSs every day. Even though I see some companies, I'm signed up to Hurley's email SMS list, and I get an SMS every day, a text message every day from
But
them.
eventually you're like, screw this. You're getting off of it, you know?
But you have to have a big,
Yeah,
I think
you
you have to
gotta
have a
manage
big
that
SMS
revenue.
list to do that.
Yeah.
I think like to your point, like even SMS and email, like what's fascinating about it, and like, you know, people go for like social media and stuff like that, which is great. It's a great brand builder, and it's great for like anybody that isn't familiar about your product to go get an idea of just kind of like what you're about and what the overall vibe is. But like email and text messaging, like you're communicating directly to like your existing customer base, and it's people that actually care about the progress you're making, like what you're actually doing as a brand. And it's a direct form of communication.
And you own that. It's an asset, right? Like Facebook can kick you off of Facebook, Instagram can kick you off, and YouTube. But if your email provider kicks you off, you just download your list and you go somewhere else, right? Like it's an asset.
I'm guessing you're not a big Amazon guy.
I'm not. No, I'm not.
Because you said that, I'm thinking that's probably not where your head's at, and that's pretty interesting. Yeah, but it's a completely different model, and we definitely value like the customer relationship and being able to communicate with them and things.
Yeah, because we it's interesting because like I try to tell like some of our other partners who aren't marketers, like it is so much cheaper to sell to people who have already purchased from you, right? So like we sent out an email to our like annual subscribers and we gave them like a credit. Like I didn't even give them anything off. I gave them a credit for their annual subscription to go to a lifetime subscription. So I gave them nothing really. I just said like, hey, here's $97 back towards the lifetime. And that's when we did 42,000 in one day. And then like you send out like this past weekend for 4th of July and we did like 8,000 or whatever it was. It's like, it's so much easier to sell to people that whoever purchased from you. So what I like to do is you always like to have multiple products, right? Like maybe bring them in with one product and then sell them other things later because it's just so much easier to do. And you've already acquired that person. Whereas Amazon, you don't own shit. They own everything.
Yeah, it's one of those things though. I feel like everybody's got to be a part of it. Amazon. It's like instead of fighting with them, do you guys sell on Amazon too? I assume so.
We've dipped our toes in the water, but we're not at a place right now where our supply chain and operations are trying to keep up, which is a good thing, but with growth and our current distribution channels. And so we're not going to really jump into that space until we think we have sufficient, quantity coming through to be able to open that up and be successful. We've dipped our toes in it. We're a big Shopify company right now.
Have you kept your focus on that kind of young college kid audience? Because I know some of our clients, they tend to like see like all this opportunity when they go outside their target market. Like obviously for something like yours, everybody can use a cooler, right? But do you stick with that kind of age range and young man audience?
I think like it's interesting because if you look at it like psychologically and like a lot has changed as like advertising has become more like targeted towards like different demographics and stuff like that. But if you look at like lifestyle brands as a whole, most of them target or use 18 to 24-year-olds, in our case 21 up, for alcohol, but like use those individuals in their advertising efforts because it's like the aspirational demographic. People are looking to that age group to see what they're doing, how they're using a product, or like what's kind of hip and cool. But what you'll find that's interesting is that typically the demographics that are a little bit above that are where you're going to make most of your revenue because they're the age groups with disposable income and they're willing to make that purchase. But we found that using the 18 to 24-year-old young, hip, fun demographic from a social perspective, like from a, if people were to go onto our channels and like look at who we're targeting, they would probably think college and, fresh out of college and stuff like that. But in reality, it's really everybody above that. College kids don't have, the disposable income that we have with full-time jobs and stuff like that. You look at a $50 purchase, it's not as tough as tough of a pill to swallow as it was when you were 19, 20, 21 in college trying to figure out where you're going to pay, like, where your next rent was going to come from and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. And it's something that we see a lot too, and a lot of, like Kevin said, our clients, right? Like they think just because somebody can use the product, that's an opportunity. And you guys, I'm sure, have tested Facebook ads, and we test Facebook ads. It's not necessarily true, like the case. Like, yeah, I get it. Like everybody could be a wildlife photographer, but the people that are actually investing in being a wildlife photographer are 45 and up. Like, yeah, can a 25-year-old use it? Absolutely. Are there 25-year-olds that are interested in wildlife photography? Absolutely. Are they the ones who are actually investing in that? Not really. It's not an opportunity to me. To me, an opportunity is the audience, that audience, that sweet spot of people who will spend money on the thing that you're selling.
Totally. And I think like to that point is like the sweet spot for that audience might not always be seeing their age group using it. And so it with that, it just comes like testing. But like if you look at companies like Burton Snowboards and stuff like that, like they only use like 18 to 24-year-olds typically in their marketing, unless it's like a very like tailored email campaign to a certain demographic or something like that. Like it's just I think it's changing these days because people like to see content and other like marketing materials or initiatives that are like targeted specifically towards them, like their demographic and their interests. But I think from a holistic perspective, it's that aspirational feel good. Like, hey, I remember back in the day when I used to be able to like crank through a Friday and Saturday and not be hungover on Sunday and still be able to study. Like
Yeah.
that's fun. It's fun to think like that. And, you know, we can't do that anymore. And we, sometimes we get nostalgic in the office about it, but it's cool hearing, I think people react better to those testimonials than they do to the guy that's like, oh dude, like Monday was so brutal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It takes
so,
me a couple days to recover nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just like an age thing. And especially with kids, it makes it even worse. But so guys, we've recently, as you know, we used to stay on these podcasts for like hour and a half, and we've recently tried to go a little shorter. And it's a shame because I actually could sit here and talk to you guys the rest of the day about this kind of stuff because I really like what you guys have done. But I do have a question because we only have a few minutes here. How big are you guys? And I don't mean, you don't need to give me an exact number, but like, are you guys like 7-figure, 8-figure, 6-figure? Like, where are you guys at right now, 4 years into this journey?
Yeah, we're a multi-million-dollar business. We can't disclose everything to a T, but yeah, we're a multi-million-dollar business. We've got a lot of room to run though. A lot of people haven't heard of us. A lot of people haven't seen a lot of the products that we're about to come out with in the near future. So there's a lot of stuff that's about to come down the pipeline that we're really excited about and looking forward to.
Yeah, I think that we're going to expand in a way that people aren't expecting.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have speaking of opportunities, like you guys have an opportunity, and I see your business being a very segmented type thing, right? Like speak to golfers, speak to fishermen, speak to like, right, college kids. You can have a lot of different segments of people and talk to them differently and, you know, build your list depending on those segments. So I think I think you're right. I mean, I think you guys, like, the sky's the limit with you guys. What is right now, like, do you guys run Facebook ads? Do you do Google? What what's your marketing look like?
Yeah, we've primarily focused on Facebook ads as our engine to drive everything. In the past, that's been a lot easier than we're currently experiencing. I'm sure you guys have been in the same boat as us with trying to adapt on the fly to a lot of the changes that have been made and things of that nature. So we're constantly learning and trying to retailer our strategy. Overall, we've been very successful at Facebook ads. I think just our product in general, our customer base, who primarily they're on their phones, they're, you know, in that 24 to 35-year-old range where they kind of like Teddy was sitting on disposable income, but also young enough to be more on social media, more active. And yeah, we target them. We find a lot of success in that. Most of our success from a search standpoint comes from branded terms, comes from people that have been exposed to us. We find it, we're starting to branch out in that direction a little bit, but Google is more or less a net to catch stuff that Facebook is kind of generated for us as of right now. And so we're looking at more things, but yeah, you bring them down. We've got the website, and then we have email. We have our SMS set up, which kind of we talked about are two different functions, but both of them for us are really important. SMS has done really well for our customer base, and it's been a really key tool in getting us to, you know, get those repeat purchases and things like that. But yeah, we obviously retarget on Facebook and things like that. But we're big on TikTok as well, not from a paid side, but from organic side. I mean, we've gotten more exposure from TikTok than we have from Shark Tank that we aired on over 2 years ago. So it's crazy the amount of organic traffic you can get from that as well.
I think it's so interesting to see, like, kind of to your point where you're like, well, we can speak to fishermen, we can speak to golfers and stuff like that. Facebook has been like such a awesome avenue for that because we can tailor those like interests. And so as a lifestyle brand, I think anybody that's running a brand or selling a product that's surrounded by like people using it in a certain way or for a certain case scenario, like having a platform like Facebook where we can create golf, like tailor golf content towards people that love golf, or, you know, tailor fishing content towards people that love fishing, really opens up our ability. You're not necessarily casting a net as you are simply like casting multiple lines with different types of bait. So I think you might not get as many small fish, but you're going to get a couple big fish. And I think those will equate to the small ones in the long run. Plus we learn all the time, like through these like advertising sprints and like that form of marketing, we learn like how people are actually using our products and like which demographics we need to speak to more. And so that's kind of been one of the best parts about having that Facebook model as our primary source of revenue.
Yeah, I mean, you guys could even, you ever see those commercials where, like, let's just say a guy is like walking, like, and then they show him like in different scenarios, like walking through the commercial. Like, so you can start like with a golfer that walks into fishing, to walks into like his kid's t-ball game, to, you know, and you could kind of like have this person walking through all these scenarios using the product and kind of get that point across almost to everybody. So
let's fly him down and shoot an ad with him. He's got an idea.
Guys,
we got to get you in the golf one though, right?
What's that?
We got to get you in the golf ad.
Dude, I'm there. Just tell
I'll
me
drink.
where I gotta
I'll
go.
drink the beer. You can shoot it with him. Play, and I'll drink the beer for him.
Right,
No
you can
problem.
walk around with a golf club and pretending what you're doing is golf.
I do love what you guys have done with your content, though. It seems like you've focused a lot on your journey. Like I saw the one video that you guys created. It was basically the story, the backstory behind Shark Tank, and you traveling there and you guys getting just messed up, like just drinking up to almost, it seemed like till you were about to shoot, it seemed like on Shark Tank. Do you think like a lot of that has helped you too, just being transparent about your story through this whole thing?
I think that was, so like before we had like a very interesting approach to marketing as a whole. And I think a lot of that has to do with like, you know, we were just never taught like the world of e-commerce until we really dove into it. And you know, school, they can teach you how to make like a proper billboard and stuff like that, but they don't really talk about e-commerce. Yeah. So like we're diving into it and we're like, hey, like people our age love to watch vlogs. We are good at making content. Every single person in this office is good with it. So let's capitalize on that and really just tell our story. And I think that like organic form of marketing, like through TikTok, through Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is like where we really find the dedicated brand lovers, if you will, people that live the Kanga lifestyle and just like want to see what we're doing day in and day out because they find it interesting, compelling. Some people even find it, you know, they're like, people will email us and say your story's so inspiring. And, you know, that's like super cool to see from the perspective of guys that have just graduated college. And we're just trying to show people that, you know, they can really do whatever they want to do, and also show like that we are just average Joes getting after it with just maybe above average work ethic.
I love that, man. So
Yeah,
real
cool.
quick, I'm sorry guys, I have to run, but I just two more questions. Number one, what piece of advice would you give people looking to start a brand with a physical product? Number one, and number two, just tell everybody where they can find you guys, and you know, your website, your emails, if you want to share that, and yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. So first off, if somebody has no entrepreneurial experience before, I would say dip your toes in, get your feet wet, whatever it may look like, whether it's running a landscaping business or a t-shirt company. Make the mistakes as small as you possibly can. Learn what it's going to take to be an entrepreneur. My personal experience, I painted houses for 2 years before I even dared to embark on this journey. And that taught me a lot about what it really does take to go down this path. And you need to do some soul searching. It's a hard road ahead, very worthwhile. A lot of ups, but a lot of downs. So you got to be willing to go through that. So from a mental and a you know, entrepreneurial standpoint, being able to learn on the fly as soon as possible, maybe before that idea hits you. If you have an idea, go for it. I mean, you have a lot of resources online you can reach out to, a lot of mentors you can, you know, read through a book or on a podcast such as this one, or maybe you have someone in your life that can help you, but a lot of ways to get started.
Yeah, I think if you're trying to start a company in general, it's just like be conscious of like, I think time is your best friend. And I know like from me, I'm kind of speaking to the kids that are still in college and stuff like that. I spent a lot of my time like outside of the classroom trying to like learn from individuals that were experienced in the area or like trying different avenues to make money. It can negatively affect the GPA if you don't spend that much time in school, but like take away what is working for you from school, seek advice from professors that are like directly impacting you. But other than that, like don't get too fixated on your GPA because like I've seen it with friends, I've seen it with classmates, how they get out of college and their like GPA is kind of what they're holding on to, but real life they haven't made the mistakes yet or not. And I think if I had focused solely on getting a 4.0 GPA, I would have been a lot further behind than I already was when I graduated.
My buddy has a saying. He says you cannot teach experience. So honestly, I'd say drop out of college, because I look at resumes and they put their stupid GPA on there. I never look at it once. And honestly, like, I don't know. For me, 4 years of experience is priceless. You come out of college with a couple $100,000 in loans if your family can't pay for it, and 4 years behind the guy who started working right out of high school. So,
yeah,
my advice
in college as much as you can.
Well,
right, there you go.
I always say, like if you can have like you can be the most knowledgeable person in the world, like literally soak up that textbook like a sponge, but if you don't know how to apply it, it's pretty much worthless.
Exactly. So where can we find you guys? I think my mother's gonna kill me because she has to run to a softball game.
You can find us at kangacoolers.com. All of our social handles are at Kangacoolers, especially TikTok. Go follow us on TikTok. You want to see us looking like fools around the office. It'll be entertaining at our expense, to say the least.
Yeah, as Dave Portnoy would say, a bunch of dudes wiggle dicking around the office.
Love it.
That's cool. Seems like you guys are having a good time. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate having you guys.
Like we said, another great interview with two great guys. Not to reiterate, but we could have talked to them forever. And maybe we'll have them on again. Who knows? Maybe there'll be something to go a little bit deeper in later in time.
Yeah, I had to rush out of there. I was taking my kid to where was I taking him? No, my wife was taking my son to karate. So I had to run, but I definitely could have spoke with them for a lot longer.
Yeah, we tend to ramble though sometimes. So I think it's good. I think it's good, short and sweet, some of these. So make sure you guys subscribe to the podcast, hit that subscribe button. Join our Facebook group at ecommerceuncensored.com/Facebook. And as always, you can check us out at ecommerceuncensored.com. And we'll talk to you guys real soon.
Later. This message comes from our sponsor, Wix e-commerce, the professional platform that enables entrepreneurs all over the world to create and run their online store and grow their e-commerce business. One of those entrepreneurs is Angel Gregorio, who runs the SpiceSuite.com. In just a few months, she sold over $900,000 worth of spices through her online store alone. So if you want to grow your business in 2021, head over to wix.com/e-commerce.
Attention e-commerce founders, entrepreneurs, side hustlers, marketers, and growth hackers. If you're working round the clock to build your dream e-commerce business, you need an e-commerce marketing platform that works just as hard as you do. That means you need Clavio. With Clavio, you'll delight customers and drive revenue at the same time, with personalized emails and SMS marketing campaigns that you can design and send in minutes. For more, visit clavio.com/uncensored. That's KLAVIYO.com/uncensored.